Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today we're running a 12-team PPR mock draft to get us ready for the fantasy football season. Training camps are open today. I think the majority of teams are open as of today, Tuesday the 25th. A few more teams I think left to go over the rest of this week, but we're going to have tons of fantasy news, notes, information that you're going to kind of come through from these training camps. I'll be sharing information that I find through the 5 Wide TikTok and here on our YouTube Shorts, and we'll definitely have some players rising up my rankings that'll come later this week. If you guys enjoyed today's video, the mock draft today, be sure to like the video. Please subscribe to the channel as well if you're looking for more fantasy football content. We're looking to get to 30,000 subscribers here before the season starts, and we'll have plenty for you guys throughout the week this week. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go from the 12 spot. I know we had a comment in one of our earlier mock drafts that you guys did want to see a super flex mock as well. We'll try to get to one of those next week. We do run a super flex league here in the office when we drop our video every year, so I'll definitely be doing some of those mocks. Maybe I'll get some of the guys in here running the mock with me. But the 12 spot is one I don't seem to love right now as it currently stands, which is surprising because most years I really love having that turn. But I don't know. I think it's maybe some certain targets that I like in the earlier parts. I think I like the guys going those first 7 picks or so and those back 7 of the second round. I'm not as big of a fan of some of those guys going in these later parts of the first, early second. But regardless, we want to work through it here. So let's start the draft. And I'm looking to, especially for guys to fall in this kind of category is what I'm definitely looking for. I mean, the sleeper mocks I like sleeper. Definitely the platform I'm using for all of my leagues. Sometimes the mocks can be a little bit off, but it looks like in this spot, this is kind of the spot where I'm a little bit worried. I'm not a huge Jonathan Taylor fan. I do think that Anthony Richardson, if he does get in week 1, that will be a little bit of a concern. But he's not a very polished passer or polished quarterback in this league, so I could see him not playing. Even if he does, I think Taylor will be relied on. I'm not big on Taylor this season, but to be completely honest, I do still think the volume will be there for him, and he's still a very talented guy. So we'll go with him for the last pick in the first. Then for the second, I am a little bit concerned about McCarthy's big emphasis on, hey, we need to run the football more, take care of the ball with the DAC interceptions and whatnot. Could that lead to some CeeDee Lamb decrease in volume with Brandon Cooks stepping in as well? The Michael Gallup health factor seems to be completely unknown, whether or not he can stay on the field. But I think this is a good chance for me to go back-to-back running back because I do love Nick Chubb this year. I think I'm going to do that to start. Let's see how we do from there. I do find myself in this spot going a lot of running back, but I mean, honestly, the next guy I would go to is probably, it would be Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I'm really high on Nick Chubb. He's my RB4 this year, so I'm higher than Jonathan Taylor, so I'll take Chubb there and go running back start, and then we can build out the wide receivers here in rounds 3 to 5. And quickly, I think I'm not sure what a lot of people are saying when it comes to the quarterback position. I'm just not even looking at it, to be completely frank with you guys. In these early rounds, I think you're making too big of an investment on these top guys. Yes, they have incredibly high floors, but QB1s, from a Patrick Mahomes standpoint, don't tend to repeat. I think they haven't repeated for 10 years now or so, or maybe it was 7 years. But that's kind of in the back of my head the entire time here. See, this is where, again, I'm not loving this area. So if we're looking at wide receiver, my favorite guy here is Amari Cooper. He's in my top 12 this year. He's definitely on my radar amongst these guys. I'm definitely not in on Deebo Samuel this season. He's someone I'm very much avoiding at this ADP. I don't mind Keenan Allen. I'm a little bit excited about Mike Williams. I don't know if you guys have noticed this from minicamp, but it does seem like they're pushing the ball downfield a lot more, and I think Mike Williams will benefit from that. Keenan Allen's always as reliable as they come, though. I've never drafted T.J. Hawkinson in any mock, but this is still a little too early to be looking at him. Aaron Jones is screaming at me, but I cannot go. I'm not going triple RB. I think Amari Cooper is who we'll go with this third round pick. Love the upside that he presents. I did a video earlier this week on wide receivers I think could potentially finish wide receiver 1 overall. And if we get that bounce back from Deshaun, I think Cooper's an upside guy that if I'm taking a wide receiver in this third round, early fourth round, I have to have a realistic scenario where they can finish top 5. Definitely see that for Cooper. Okay. We'll go Man, this is very tough for me. Man, I really love Aaron Jones this year too. It's really hard for me not to go at him. Fields in the 4th, Herbert in the early 4th. It's just a tad too early for these guys for me. I'm going to go Aaron Jones, triple RB. Triple RB, 3 RBs in the first four rounds. I love these 3 guys. I have all of these guys in my top 12, so that's great. Now we're really pushing, I guess, ourselves now to really focus on the wide receiver spot. I got to hit on some of these guys that I really, really like, and hopefully we can do that. That would have been great. If Ayuk was there, I would have hit on 2 guys I really love. Ayuk for sure, as a guy that's just being completely disrespected with his ADP. When you look at what he's been able to do in the competitive room, where a guy like Deebo Samuel hasn't been successful in this competitive room, because Ayuk was still great when all 4 guys were available between Kittle, Ayuk, Deebo, and CMC. I like Mike. I think Williams has an incredibly high ceiling because, like I mentioned, Kellen Moore is a guy that will push the ball downfield far more than Joe Lombardi did in the Chargers offense. So we could see some serious explosive plays from him. The injury concern is always there. Mike Williams playing an entire season is unlikely, to be completely frank. But if he does manage to play like 14+ games this year, I definitely think there's a lot of ceiling there. This is a guy who finished top 12 not too long ago too. 2 years ago? The quarterback spot, we have Trevor Lawrence, Dak, Deshaun, tight end Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert, Darren Waller, Evan Ingram. Pittman is definitely someone I'm really concerned about from a volume perspective. What he did last year with such significant volume, how much better do I think the offense will be now this year? I don't know. Especially, this is what he put together last year without Jonathan Taylor for a pretty decent period. I think what I want to do is go Christian Kirk, because I do think even with the arrival of Calvin Ridley, Kirk can still be very, very good and consistent. Yeah, I'm going to go Christian Kirk. I like Trevor Lawrence loves the slot. He has even before Christian Kirk arrived with guys like Dan Arnold, Jamal Agnew was kind of successful there in the slot, even Laviska Shenault really early when the Jaguars were terrible under Urban Meyer. So I still like Kirk. I still think this offense has can continue to grow. And we saw Zay Jones to close the season was very good along with Kirk. Like this is still an offense that could still support multiple guys. So I still like that opportunity there. I think with this area, I do like James Cook. He would be a nice guy to target here as well. Tight end spot. Dalton Schultz seems to be my consistent guy. I just continue to grab. Quarterback, we still have Dak. We have Deshaun. We have Tua. This is kind of the tier that I like. I really like going Deshaun and Tua as 2 guys I consistently seem to grab in these later rounds, just because I still see, Tua led the league in yards per attempt last year. This offense was one of the most explosive in the league with 2 fantastic receivers to get the ball to. Deshaun's a guy who's led the league in passing yards in previous years. Like, I'd rather go quarterback in these rounds when I can still see the upside to be a top 4 guy, as opposed to like over-investing in rounds 3 and 4 and grabbing quarterbacks in spots that I could have, a player like, let's say, like we took with Aaron Jones or Amari Cooper, who I think have the chance to be very, very good this year at positions that are much more scarce and much more in a 1 QB league, much more important. I think what I will do is go with some upside, which I really need at wide receiver. So I'm going to go Michael Thomas. Definitely, a little bit of a reach here to grab him, but I need the upside at wide receiver considering how heavily I invested in running back early on. That's really a focus for me. If I have a position that I feel a little bit scarce on, I'll obviously target in these later rounds. I'm going to grab a bunch of them, but I'm going to look for upside over, the security of, let's say, who would I say here? Probably a lot of these guys have a lot of different outcomes here. Now that I think about it, like I have questions about JSN and George Pickens, Kadarius Toney. I'm just not touching. I think Brandon Cooks maybe has a decent floor, but I don't know if there's a ton of ceiling. So that's what we'll go with there with Thomas, because he's a guy that when he's on the field he scored 3 touchdowns in only 3 games last year. So I love him there. And I might just go James Cook because I'm very, very high on what I can get from him, but I don't want the fall off at quarterback. So you know what? I'm going to go Deshaun Watson here just to avoid the fall off at quarterback. And then there's a bunch of late round running backs that I'm taking flyers on as guys that are great handcuffs, but also have the chance to carve themselves out a role. That's what I'll probably try to do here we're doing 13 rounds here in rounds 11 through 13. So we got quarterback figured out. We've got, how many wide receivers do we have now? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. Tight end spot still has Dalton Schultz. So I'm probably going to go there. I like in this offense. I do think the Texans are going to have a pretty good year. Their win total is listed at 6.5. I was looking at their schedule this morning because I was kind of thinking about playing the over on it. It scared me off a little bit with a schedule that might be tough to get to that 7-win mark. But I still think this offense, in terms of you got the great pass, like a decent pass blocking unit with Laramie Tunsil leading the way, and then they added Shaq Mason. I trust CJ Stroud. I think he's ready for the NFL and to hit the ground running, much like Bryce Young. And then you have the competition for targets, which isn't really there for Schultz. Like, we've seen Schultz put up some numbers in Dallas, and I think he will kind of be the guy that leads things offensively for this team when you look at what the other options are when you got a far too old Robert Woods to be productive, in my opinion. You've got Nico Collins, who's never really secured a number one role or played at a number one role level in the NFL. He did it sparingly last year. Tank Dell is the rookie. Who knows what you can get there? So I like going with that on that pick. Zay Flowers is a guy that I think has plenty of upside. I love him and Elijah Moore. These are two guys I really like in this area. And I obviously have the opportunity to stack. I already have the stack of Watson and Cooper. I won't be looking to take more here. But I do think if I'm drafting multiple teams, I'll look to take, a Deshaun Watson, Elijah Moore as my late. I love that as a later stack. That's awesome. But I do really like Cooper, so I'm going to avoid taking more here. But on some other teams, I'm definitely looking to mix it up and really be in on this Browns team. I think I'll probably go Zay Flowers. The running backs I would go to, the potential of the great handcuff at the very least that Tyler Algier is. Damian Harris is a potential touchdown hog in Buffalo to do a better job taking care of the ball in the red zone. But I don't love the running backs here. Charbonnet is one that I'm not too high on. I don't think he's an NFL level runner. He's a terrific receiver. So I'm going to go Zay Flowers. Love the opportunity he has. Just did a TikTok this morning, actually. Rashad Bateman went on the pup. They don't seem very high on him being back really soon, this being a very short stint on the pup. So it looks like there's the potential of Zay Flowers getting a great opportunity here in an offense that's going to run a lot more 3-wide to kind of get in with Jackson, build that rapport in camp with one less guy competing in that room. So I love the leg up he can get there, because I don't even know where Odell Beckham is at in terms of health. He was at minicamp, but he wasn't fully participating. So, all right, quarterback, I'm not going to look to go to. Tight end, I'm still happy with. We got 3 more picks here. I think some flyers I've talked about with you guys. Tank Bigsby, Deontay Foreman could be a very boring pick, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he's leading the room in Chicago. The other ones, to me, there's going to be value from this Dolphins room between Mostert, Wilson, and I'm not sure about A-Chain. So what I'm going to do is I like Bigsby as a potential touchdown guy in Jacksonville in an offense I think can take another step this year. And then what I will go with is I haven't taken much of Raheem Mostert. I'm going to go Mostert because I do think he has the best chance to lead this room. Mostert is a very explosive, has great speed. I think when he was available, they wanted to use him a little bit more. He obviously is a guy that tends to miss time. I want to grab in these later rounds a piece of this offense, because this is the area of your drafts where ultimately these are guys that might not make it very far in your fantasy team. Or make it very far on your team, might end up on the wire, because quite frankly, there's a lot of guys you could decide to take a shot on. If you're drafting a team, let's say in 2 weeks, by the time we get close to training camp, or by the time we get the end of training camp, start of the season, you could change your mind and, hey, I want to grab this guy instead and drop him. So these guys are very expendable. And I tend to like to go running back in these later rounds as the expendable guys. Like, you get here to this area, and I'm probably more likely to look at, say, a KJ Osborne, who I think could have a great start to the year before, as Jordan Addison looks to get acquainted in the offense. Other one I love to go to at the end is Curtis Samuel in that slot role with Bieniemy coming in. The slot was a very important piece of that team's offense. He's another guy I go to, but again, these guys don't have high ceilings, whereas these other running backs, like a Jalen Warren, for example, I think Jalen Warren's just a much better player than Najee Harris is at this NFL level. Harris was terrible last year. 3.8 yards a carry compared to Warren's 4.9. Warren had like 15 less receptions, but almost had as many receiving yards as him. He was just way more efficient with his opportunities. And it's very hard to lean on Harris. Harris was terrible as a guy who's getting, like, his stuff rate was very high. I could see them potentially making a move that not a lot of people are thinking about. So I'm absolutely fine with taking him with my last pick and loading up on these backs in those final few rounds. So the team we have: Deshaun Watson, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, the 2 running back spots, Cooper and Williams in our wide receivers, Dalton Schultz at the tight end spot, and then the flex has Aaron Jones, Christian Kirk, and then some great flyers at the wide receiver spot with Michael Thomas and Zay Flowers on my bench, and then some flyers in Tank Bigsby and Jalen Warren at the running back spot, and the potential for a guy that can lead the way at the running back spot for the Dolphins in Raheem Mostert. So I like what we did here. Definitely coming off the heavy running back start. I like the upside that I got with some of these wide receivers combined with a great floor, I think, of Christian Kirk, like I mentioned. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of the team, what you guys would do in some of these spots. Happy to answer any questions when it comes to draft strategy and what to be doing with the pick that you're at, or any picks you want me to see or want to see me draft from, or any other formats. We could do some 10 team. We obviously will do some super flex as well. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel as well if you enjoyed, and as always, we will see you on the next one.